Hi, my name's Cheri. Welcome to my stamp studio and welcome to my Christmas in July. So I have several more cards that I'm going to be bringing your way, as well as if you don't follow me on Instagram or Facebook, probably Facebook, but on Instagram too, my team members and we've all been sharing cards that we've done with each other. So new cards, but all Christmas, so we can all be part of each other's Christmas in July's. So on Instagram, I've been posting a couple a day. On Facebook, at the end of the week, they'll all be on Facebook. So you'll want to go over there because I have some super talented teammates and you'll want to see what they have shown. One of them, she actually gave me hers. This is completely adorable. Is this not the fanciest little angel you ever did see? And it has one of the new sayings from... I don't have the set. I don't have either of these sets, so I'm super glad that she made the card for me. But look, she has lipstick and some blue eyeshadow, and she is just all kinds of fancied up to go give the good news about Christmas. And then it has the saying from Miracle on 34th Street. So they're two different sets. I don't have either of them, but you know, after this sweet little card, she's made me want both. So I wanted to show you this card today, partly because it's one of the cards I'll show that one of my teammates made, but because it's a similar card design to what I'm showing you today. And I'm also going to use a sentiment set and an image set. So kind of along the same lines. And hers, I'm pretty sure that Tanya used blends. So I'm going to use some watercolor today. So I'm going to use Peaceful Nativity, which does come with some words, but I just wanted, oops. And there's the die. I would have been looking for that in a minute. And I'm going to use Foreign to Us. So this one does have some small words. I wanted a little bit bigger words on the bottom of my card just for spacing issues. And this is a fabulous set with some really great Christmas sentiments. So I'm going to do that. This is going to be a watercolor heavy card. For those of us who love to color, it's perfect. It's going to be kind of a neutral card. It would also be really pretty framed, so you wouldn't have to make it as a card. You could just do the front and maybe spread it out a little bit, maybe put a bigger background on it. It's very neutral, so I have some very vanilla for my back of my card. And then I'm going to have this piece of shimmer white here that's going to just be run through the embossing folder as our background, and we're going to do all of our stamping and painting on another piece of scrap shimmer white. So I've mounted all of my stamps on one stamp set because they're going to be run through the die cutting machine, which if you are a demonstrator, you can get the new one, the new larger one, not the new small one, next month. So we're just days away from me finally having a new one. If you are a customer, you'll be able to get it in September. So you can order from this catalog in August, and then in September you will be able to get the new it's not a big shot, the new machine. So these are the three stamps I'm going to use. It's the sheep, the donkey, and the nativity. And then I'm going to put the words on the front of the card. So I've got these, and then the rest of it are all just pieces that we're going to watercolor. And this is just a memento. It is super rainy here today, so I'm going to let this have a second to dry before we watercolor it. Then I'm going to use cinnamon, which is one of our new in colors, to get our sentiment on here. I'm just going to stamp it along the bottom. And this is why I went with this stamp set, because it's a large, pretty font. And the ones that come in this set will be perfect for the inside of the card. But I wanted the words on the front to be a little bit bigger, especially if you wanted to do this as a framed piece of art. We're going to need to watercolor that. So let's put all this stuff through our die cut machine now. So I have this piece here that's just the shimmer white. And I'm going to use, out of the annual catalog, just the little texture. This is a must-have. If you don't have it yet, then it needs to go on your next order, because you'll find you use it all the time just like this. It's just gonna, especially on the shimmer white, it pulls out the sparkle so you can see it a little bit more, but it just gives the paper some texture. So the subtle embossing folder used to be my favorite. The subtle's a little bit less, a little more subtle than this. So you can see it just kind of gives it a nice kind of a little bit more than linen. The subtle gives it a linen feel. This is a little bit more. Now let's run these through the dies. When you get the new machine, it will have like all the sandwiches on there. And I did want to show you, if you need new plates, and there are you can see the plates in the catalog, and they do work with your Big Shot if you have a Big Shot and you are waiting for new plates. So let's see. There's a whole bunch of dies that come in this set. So we've got the ones that cut out our images. So let's get those first. Whenever you put your things on the block together, make sure if you're going to run them through with dies that you've left ample room so they don't touch. Then we have a couple of palm trees, because you know Bethlehem's in the desert. And then we have a little star. That's the one that was stuck to my stamp case. And then we have this stable. There is also a stamp stable, and then you can get the image that cuts those out, or the die that cuts out the stamped one. But this one I just wanted to go and paint this. So let's run these through, and you can see this is the one that's in the catalog now, this plate, and it works perfectly fine with the current Big Shot if this is the one that you have. So if you need replacement plates, you don't need to wait, or if you're going to keep your Big Shot and not get a new one. So now we've got all of our images. It just takes one pass. You don't need to go any more passes than you have to, because every time you pass through, you're putting another cut into your plates. So the less passes that you do, the less times you need to buy new plates. And we'd all rather buy stamps and fun things than we would plates. The plates aren't expensive. So if you find that your plates are starting to look really cut up, then just pretend you're buying a pack of cardstock, because they cost about the same. And then you'll be happy. So here's the cute little stable. So I'm going to use our new water painters, and I'm going to use a whole slew of ink colors. So I have a bunch of ink pads. Now I'm going to use ink pads. If you have the ink refills, you could get out a paper plate. You could get out one of our largest ink pads. You could get out one of your cutting pads if you want. And so I'm squishing these together. I just find table-wise, this takes up the most space, but convenience-wise, I don't have to do anything else. So I've just squished those together to make a little ink palette here. So I'm going to start with cinnamon and soft suede. I went for lots of the lightest of most colors that I could get, unless they were a few little highlights. And then this is the skinniest water painter, and I don't have a lot of water in it. And you can see I didn't have to poke anything but this one right here. That's the only one that had to be actually poked. So you want to get, like I said, I want it to be light, because I'm going for a subtly kind of pastel-y feel. And if you do this on white or vanilla, you're gonna have to be really careful with the amount of water you use. With shimmery cardstock, it's got that nice shimmer coat on it, so you can go a little bit heavier on the water. If you use watercolor cardstock, you can go start raving mad crazy with your water. So it just kind of depends on how much watercolor look you want. This one I'm going to do a little bit lighter than I did my first one, just to kind of see, just have a little bit of a different look, and we'll see which one we like better. So I'm literally just brushing this over. And you know, it's supposed to be wood. It's supposed to be a stable. And then this has a little place where it says push here, and that's how you get some more water out. And I don't want to do it inside my case, because you don't necessarily want to dump all this water in here. If you're doing a lot with one color, you kind of can. And then I want his little manger to be the same color as the stable. So for this one, I'm going to pick up not this light colored water. I'm going to grab where the water's a little bit darker. I mean, the ink's a little bit darker. And I have people ask me sometimes why my memento doesn't smear. Sometimes it does if it's muggy here. But also I'm going with the least amount of water to get the most amount of watercolor effect. So I'm not drenching that. It's just enough to kind of get this ink to move around. Then I'm going to clear this off, clean it off, that color on there. That's it for my cinnamon. I'm going to grab the palm trees. And you can see I've already done this card once, and I've hardly got any of the soft suede in here because it doesn't take hardly any at all because it's a dark color. Get these tree trunks. And you don't want it to, you want it to have that nice watercolory look, so you don't want it to be all stark and all the same color. I'm just going to give it some highlights along the edges. Then I'm going to grab my donkey. And give him kind of a wash of the soft suede. I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to come back and give him some highlights of it. I have crumb cake too, so I'm going to be working with one more brown. So now let's skip over to our petal pink. And I'm okay that it has still a little bit of soft suede because, you know, our family is from the Middle East, so they're not going to be some English folks walking around with no color. So if I have a little bit of soft suede on here, that's okay. But you know, it's art. And they're a little bit more pale than I am, with some of my Blackfoot heritage showing on my time in the sun. So anytime I do this skin color, I don't want it to be, and we have all colors of the rainbow in my family. So, you know, as brown as it gets. In fact, that's a little bit too much on the pink side for me. So I'm going to go back. My other one's a little bit more blushy. I'm just going to grab one little, there we go. Make Joseph at least, you know, he's been outside a lot. Maybe Mary's protected her skin. And you know, the baby, he hasn't had any time to go out yet. Little baby Jesus is just a baby. But I don't like for my people to look pink. So you can kind of mess with it. But again, you don't want too much water on any of that. So there we have a much more Middle Eastern looking family. And he does have his chin. You don't want his chin to stay white. So now we've got that. I'm going to give him some darker suede here. I forgot about his hair. And I'll just give her a little bit of light suede. She looks a little gray. She looks like she's my age. So you want to work from your lightest colors up. So now I'm going to grab, let's go with our grays. And so I have Smoky Slate and Sahara Sand. So I'll go with the Smoky Slate, which is going to be for my sheep. And he's just, I didn't want to get too super fancy on the animals. I just want him to kind of be a highlight. So really I'm just going to grab and kind of swirl around and give him a little bit of gray. And kind of clean it off on his legs. And then go back and pick, like there I grabbed a dot of, so it's pretty dark there. You get his little hooves. And same thing, take it back over to the donkey. And get his little hooves. So that part is actually the darkest suede that I'm going to have. And then I am going to take this and go back over and just highlight Joseph's hair a little bit. So you can see I'm hardly using any ink at all. And this one time I'm going to clean that off. And now we will get our Sahara Sand. And for this one, I'm going to color Joseph's robes. And he has a little place where there's that, you know, Bible story. How many of us have been in a Bible play, either as an adult or a child, where you have that little Middle Eastern sash. So he does have a sash of color right here. So I'm going to leave that just as much for an artifact, not an artifact, but an artifact as anything else, just because I want a little bit of color on my card. you know, because they weren't royalty. So he wouldn't have had any super bright colors. Then I am going to get a little bit of this crumb cake and give my donkey a different color face. And then just grab a little bit and just kind of spottle him. And then we have, oh, sorry, that was Sahara sand. And then I'm going to get the crumb cake, which is a tad darker than the Sahara sand, as you can see. And again, I'm going to hit one of those places where it's a little bit darker and get up here on. And you can see I'm not even really coloring. That's why I think that some of you might have a problem with your ink smearing, is that you're using too much water. It doesn't take water. You're literally, the water in the pen is helping it not to be a solid chunk of ink when it hits, but it's not really doing anything but helping it be more like a blender pen. Because if I would start smearing this all around, then I think I might have some smearing issues, especially on a day when it's raining here in Indiana. And I'm going to go back over here, and here I can go a little bit more and just kind of give those edges. And again up here, just so we have a little bit of definition on the sides of everything. Kind of like you might take your ink pad and like drag it along the side. This way when we lay it against the cardstock, it's going to have that really pretty definition. And don't worry about perfection. It's a stable and it's watercolor. So you got the two things going for you. So now we've got those. And we still have a little bit of crumb cake on there. So now I'm going to go for Seaside Spray. Let's move on to Mary. Just kind of fill her robes in. And again, I'm as much as coloring, I'm dabbing color on. I'm just getting her on here. And I'm not 100% certain that some of it up around her face is not her hair and not robe. But when your designs are this tiny, don't let it stress you. You can do one way and one the other, and then decide what you like best. I was okay with it all being blue because I felt like I had enough brown on this card already. So if it was meant to be hair, it didn't really matter to me because I liked that there being blue. And if it's hair, then her hair is just tucked in the robe in my picture. So we've got the Seaside Spray. Now we're going to move into some of the darkest colors that I chose for the card, and we're just going to add dabs. So here's Specific Point. You can see I have a really light color palette going, but I just want a little bit of tiny highlights. And you can see how much I have not used. So I'm just going to grab a tiny bit, tiny bit, just so her head wrap is a little bit darker than the rest. That wasn't even enough. Because I just want these two pieces up here and then down where it goes down to the bottom. Just to have a little bit deeper of a blue. But I don't want it to be bright. And I don't want you to look at the card and go, whoa, that's blue. So there I just had just enough to give that. Then let's go to Baby Jesus, and we're going to put him in some Highland Heather blankets. And again, I just want it a tiny bit, ever so slightly. So teensy bit of that. Then we'll go to, let's do the crushed curry. And this is going to be our hay. And I don't want it to be like he's sitting on some yellow hay, but I also wanted to have a little bit of an aura because, you know, he is the child of God. So perhaps the hay he's laying on is a little bit illuminated. So just a touch there. And then I'm going to go back to our star, which is probably hard for you to see on film, but it does have it has some embossed images in it too. So now I'm going to go back and grab a bunch of water. Now you might be able to see those soak into it a little bit better. So you can see I'm getting darker colors, but my design's not coming dark. So here's the darkest two. I've got some Mary Merlot. And you know that little sash that I said he had? That I left this way just so we could have some highlights of color. So bring this down through here. I forgot his staff. We'll have to go back and get it. So first I want to do it light. Just like that. And then I'm going to go back and get a heavier coat just so I can get those little marks. Because again, I want it to be light. So the first time, make it be light, so the second time you can afford to put some darker highlights. And then some Mossy Meadow. And those are obviously for the tops of my palm trees. So again, I want a watercolor wash. And I don't care if some of them are darker sides and some of them are lighter. Just like that. Sometimes with these, you kind of have to make sure you move them to make sure you got everywhere. And then let's go back and get the soft suede to get his staff. To give it one more squeeze. So when you're doing this, just literally put them together and squeeze like that. And then you can see, whoops, I didn't trying to do it in camera angle. Let me pull it out where I can reach it. So just squeeze it together. And then when you squeeze, it transfers some ink over. So I want his staff to be darker than his clothes. But I don't want to add a lot of water. So then you get more ink the first time. And then while I have the soft suede out, I'm going to grab some of this, and then I'm going to go back to my Mossy Meadow. Because, you know, I don't like my things floating in midair. I'm going to grab just a scoop of this. And then just ever so slightly down here on the bottoms, I'm going to give them all just a little bit of turf that they're standing on. Again, I don't want it to be dark, and I don't want it to be a lot, especially here on this little sheep. But now they're not floating in here. Because I realize he's the child of God and everything, but he was born on earth. That's part of the Christmas story. Okay, so that's, okay, now if you were doing this for your Christmas cards, here's what I would do. I would do all, like if I was going to do 20 of these for people, I would do 20 stables at one time. Then I would do 40 trees at one time. I would do 20 stars at one time. I would do 20 of these at one time. So you're focusing on doing all of the things at one time and not doing one card at a time, and it will go a whole lot faster for you, trust me. So now we want to take our little piece that we have for our background. I'm going to take my scissors. Okay, I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to do a nice little 90s rough up. I want to make sure first that I have enough room on our card here. Stand to be cut just a fraction. It will all depend on how close you got this to the bottom. And here's our little mini paper trimmer. It's a demonstrator exclusive, but if you spend $150 with me in July, then you can get it free. So just go to my website to get the details on that. You get other stuff free too. So that's better because I'm going to put some ribbon at the top. I'm going to give it one more little slice. This is a great trimmer for making little slices like this, but it's also perfect if you're like me and your table ends up with not much space for a big paper cutter, then it's great for these little ones. So I have my big paper cutter over where I cut my paper down for card size, and then over here that's just perfect for this. So now I'm going to take my scissors. I'm going to really rough this up because I want it to look deserty, rustic. So it goes with my subtle palette. It gives it a nice little farmhouse look if you want to use it for decor. But I think it also gives a nice, it fits with the desert theme of the palm trees as well. So pretty much just put your scissors on here and just press. It does make a little bit of a mess. It's not the best technique to do if you have them black because you're going to get some paper fuzz on you. Just like this. And the second time through, you can see now it's kind of flattening, and that's what I want. Sometimes I do it just a little bit like that because that's plenty. For this one, I want it a little bit more rustic because this card's going to have some depth to it already. So it's not like this is going to cause it to be any more fat in the envelope. So I got that. Now I'm going to actually take my fingers and fold this over. So now it even gives it more of that handmade paper look, which is one of the great features of this folder, that you can get this with it. So there we go. Get my mess off the table, and I'm not wearing black. Then I have this really fun ribbon. It's actually not part of a Christmas collection, I don't think. I think it comes with our plaid suite, and it is called embroidered ribbon, but it's a nice neutral color. Because I just wanted to have one more little part that seemed like it was kind of deserty or sandy. And doesn't that seem pretty? So I'm going to take our Seal Plus because it's great for holding the ribbon. And just give one little push down the top. Kind of went over the top of my card. And then just go along the top. It's going to go over just a fraction on the card, but I want to be able to fray it because I'm going with that frayed look. Just kind of pull that. As Christmas in July continues, towards the end, you'll find out my specials, which most of them will happen in August. So it's going to be a build up to it. So you can see I have this string here. I'm going to pull that, and that's going to fray those edges. So get one in here. But because you can't order from this catalog until August, and because I already had some really good July specials, but I wanted to do a Christmas in July. I've never done one before. When you had a daughter who played competitive golf, then this would have been high gear into season. In high school, we would have been in season. And then in college, she would have been kicking it into high gear to get into. So we were forever at tournaments in the summer. So this is, last year I thought about it, but this year it worked out perfectly now that we finally have a catalog with new stuff coming out. So now you can see the ribbon, now you can see the paper, and then we just need to build up our little scene here. So we're going to start with our staple, and this is just the regular seal. So it doesn't take a lot, but you want to make sure that all the sides have some. So put your staple on first, so it's centered, because then everything else is going to be based on that. And some palm trees either side. And these you can just put your adhesive on the top because our animals will help anchor them at the bottom. So get those on, and then everything else is going to be put on with a mini dimensional. My daughter was here filming yesterday, so she cleaned back up, but she moved everything, and this card had been ready to film. So she squished everything out of the way. So let's get, this one actually will take a big one. Some of them are big enough. So you can get 2 on Mary and Joseph. And I thought about putting some Wink of Stella or something on the star. The sheep needs a little one. And put it right in the center. But I thought the shimmer is just enough. I didn't want this to be a glitzy card. And then where you have that dimensional, make sure it catches the bottom of your tree since we don't have anything else holding it. Then your donkey can have a large one. And again, make sure it catches the bottom of your tree. So it helps hold that down. And then your star is going to need a tiny one. And then it just goes just like if you were putting your nativity out under your tree at Christmas. And there you go. So this one's a tad bit lighter. In the end, I don't think it's a whole lot lighter than my first one. Maybe Joseph is. But the rest, and the staple. But the rest of it kind of looks the same. So it's a really fun card to make. It would also be fun if you were a Sunday school teacher. This set would be great. If you teach at a Christian school where you make things, or if you just do projects with your grandkids or your kids, because you could stamp and cut them out and they could color them. You could even make a great little coloring book with these pieces. But it also makes fabulous Christmas cards. So I hope you enjoy this. Again, I will have things through at least Christmas in July started yesterday, which was Tuesday, if you're not watching live. So at least for a week, I will have something every day posting. So hopefully a video every day. We'll see what real life holds. We have an unexpected vacation, not vacation, but some time with my daughter and her boyfriend coming up, because they were supposed to be going out of town, but now where they were going, won't let Hoosiers into their state. Well, they will, but you have to be quarantined, so they don't want to go someplace and be quarantined. So I think we're going to get to do something fun with them. So that was part of the reason I scheduled this now, because I thought they would be gone, and so I knew I had some free time. So I'm going to work super fast on the days that I have to work, so maybe we can have some fun when we can have some fun. So stop back, because there's lots of fun things happening, and Merry Christmas in July. Bye.